What's up guys, Houndish here, and today I've got some Destiny 2 stuff to talk about. So there's a new interview with Deej where he talks about clans and guided games and how some of the systems will work for that. On top of this, we have a discussion about endgame variety and how that will change a bit in Destiny 2. We also have an interesting breakdown of one of the adventures that you'll find on Nessus, which I'll talk about in a moment. And I wanted to talk about PvP modes and some confusing bits of information that have been distributed about this. So let's get into it. First up, Deej spoke to Mike.com about guided games and clans, and there's some interesting things in here about how some of that stuff will work. So Deej said, guided games is the grand experiment. We still believe that a positive raid experience comes from a commitment to finish a raid together. And the article goes on to say that Deej said before agreeing to a full raid through guided games, your clan will have the chance to chat with each of the new players in a virtual lobby, and this provides an opportunity to go through a basic checklist. Does this person have a headset for voice communication? Are they ready to commit to a full raid? But it's also a good chance to make sure that personalities and all of that stuff are a good fit. So when they talk about the virtual lobby, it sounds like you'll have kind of like an entrance lobby for the game that you're hosting, where you'll be able to kind of bring people in and talk to them before they actually come into your fire team or into your party chat or whatever. So that's definitely interesting. But Deej went on and said we get to have a moment with the person to make sure they're the type of person we want to play with for an hour or 2 or 3 or 4. If at the end you think that spark of friendship has been realized, then you can opt to add this player to your group. And up next, the article talks about trolling and kind of community aspect. So Bungie realizes there is no way to create a perfect online gaming community, but guided games seems like a solid step in the right direction. And Deej said people are always going to find a way to troll each other. Someone can seem affable enough, but if the first thing they say is disagreeable, you have the option to kick them out. Alternatively, taking 6 strangers and mashing them together with no guarantee that they even have a headset or enough time to finish isn't the best solution. The best thing is when a game becomes a place to play with my friends rather than a solitary story you play all alone. So I thought that was worth sharing with you guys. They revealed some of how you'll kind of interact with players that are interested in joining your group, or you know, if you're looking to join a raid for an activity, you'll have to kind of jump in and speak to them and everything like that. But it definitely sounds like a good way to kind of handle this system. Up next, in an interview with Heavy, Deej spoke about variety in the endgame and some of the activities waiting when you finish the campaign. So Deej said there will be a lot more to do outside of the campaign. Once the last cinematic plays out, I think you're going to find a lot more variety. When you're in a destination, you open up the map and the map will be littered with all of these different things you can do. You can go on adventures that will tell you more about those destinations and the characters that you'll discover in those places. Normally you're used to walking up to a character in the tower or in a social space like the Reef or Felwinter Peak, but you'll actually walk up to the characters in destinations and interact with them. There are things that you can do in the world to expand your understanding of those places or get rewards, public events that you see on the map and you'll know when they begin, instead of people literally wandering around the world of Destiny hoping a public event would start or crowdsourcing together to figure out a map. You're going to learn more about the story of the game, you're going to understand when the public events start, you're going to be able to interact with other players and manage your clan in the game, and what we want to do is immerse people's minds in the world of the game and not force them to leave to make their Guardian experience complete. You're going to find, independent of the raid, that there are far greater variety of things to enjoy in the Guardian lifestyle after the final cutscene has played out. So we've known about a lot of these different elements coming in Destiny 2, but when you kind of round it together like that, it definitely looks very promising. There is going to be much more variety and a lot more options for a player, you know, as far as what kind of content they want to tackle. We also know about milestones and everything like that, so if you're actually tracking your way through the campaign or through the additional content in the game, you know, you will be kind of directed as to what is the next best thing for you to go and complete. On the subject of the explorable places and the kind of activities you can do, Segment Next actually posted a guide where they've kind of looked at all of the different stages of an adventure taking place on Nessus, and this was actually from the IGN footage, and it's pretty interesting. So Deep Conversation is one of the first adventures players are likely to come across on Nessus once they have found the NPC using the map. The first objective of Deep Conversation will require players to kill a number of Vex enemies around Nessus in order to gather collective data. And once players have killed enough enemies, the next objective will appear instead of the quest simply ending. The second objective will have players scanning a Vex cache inside of a Vex stronghold. Once players are done scanning and have killed a number of enemies inside the stronghold, a mini boss called the Mind will appear and players will have to take it down. We also learned that upon completion of this particular adventure quest, players will receive a green crystal, and this is an item that allows them to unlock a subclass ability in Destiny 2. And this is something I pointed out before. You do actually see the reward for this activity on the side of the screen right there, and it's called an upgrade point. When you look at the subclasses in Destiny 2, all of the locked off sections from the beta required one of these points to actually unlock. So presumably as we go through the game and the different areas, perhaps they'll highlight, a couple of adventures to do on each location, which will actually unlock, 2 nodes, and then you go to the next and you unlock another 2, or however, it'll kind of be managed into the game in some way, I would imagine. They did also say that a lot of the stuff in the patrol spaces will unlock after the main campaign, which I suppose is probably going to be their way to stop players from, just staying on one location, completing a bunch of adventures and unlocking the whole subclass or something. It'll be kind of managed as you move through the campaign. But either way, these adventures sound really cool, and it's nice that you'll be able to actually progress your Guardian character and unlock things by doing these, as opposed to just doing them to unlock, pieces of gear that give you marginally higher stats or whatever. Finally, I wanted to talk about PvP modes and maps coming in Destiny 2. So news circulated that we'll be seeing 10 PvP maps with 5 PvP game modes in Destiny 2. My friend and fellow YouTuber Mr. Bo actually sent me a screenshot of a piece of promotional material for Destiny 2 with this information on it. But when you go to the Destiny the Game website, it actually lists this. So it says intense 4v4 multiplayer matches, including over 12 different PvP modes. So this is very interesting. I'm not sure why they're talking about 12 different PvP modes. Even if you try to think of it as perhaps a typo or something like that, there will be 10 PvP maps and 5 different game modes. Even if you add that number together, it's 15, so quite where the 12 is coming from isn't clear right now. Perhaps this does include modes like Trials of Osiris and Iron Banner. Maybe it refers to modes we haven't seen revealed yet that could actually be different types of player versus player modes, so things like SRL, which we saw in Destiny 1. There could be other unrevealed ways to play multiplayer content in Destiny 2, and perhaps this is what they're referring to on the Destiny the Game website. Something else I wanted to point out, which has been more or less forgotten though, there was an interview with Game Informer way back, I think it was around E3, where they actually spoke to Luke Smith about the game modes, and Luke Smith said, "Quick play is the place where you're going to find more party games, things like Control, Clash and Supremacy, and then we have the competitive playlist, which has 2 modes. We're not talking about one of them right now, but the other one is Countdown. Of course, since then we've learned that there will be a new mode called Survival, which will be the second mode for the competitive playlist. But Luke Smith did refer directly to Control, Clash and Supremacy returning. There was an interview with Lars Bakken where he spoke about the changes to PvP, and the interviewer actually asked him about 6v6 Clash, and he said that that is gone. And a lot of people took this as there won't be any Clash in Destiny 2, and I think he was actually referring to 6v6, not necessarily Clash itself, because Luke Smith did directly say Control, Clash and Supremacy will return, which does link to that particular leak that we saw with Destiny 2 information on it. But I think there must still be some kind of weight to the main site listing 12 PvP game modes. This is, the main online outlet or starting point when people look for Destiny 2, so presumably this information is correct. To me, it sounds like there are things we haven't heard about yet. For now though, that about sums up this video, guys. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on any of this stuff in the comment section. If you have enjoyed the video though, a like is very much appreciated, and if you want to save 10% on Control Freak products, including the new Destiny 2 edition thumbsticks, then follow the link in the description or use code HOUNDISH at checkout and you'll save yourself a few bucks. I also have a link to save 5% on pre-orders of Destiny 2 for PC with Games Planet, so if you're interested in that, check it out in the description below. For now though, I appreciate you guys watching as always, and I hope you have an awesome day.